Coups.
Les 400 Coups, the first movie he did was in Cannes, and I can identify to that movie because it's about a little boy who's trying to find, a young man who's trying to find his own path. So for me it was, as a 16 or 17 years old, that's when I started to want to do movies. It was great because it talked to me. It says, yeah, you can be your own man.
There was something organic and spontaneous about and life-affirming about the Nouvelle Vague, which was a huge influence on many people, not least me.
That's one of the things I learned from Truffaut, is never lose touch with what initiated your love for film. So he was trying to fit and not fit in. He was trying to do both at the same time, to fit in order to speak his own voice. He loved to go and see a comedy or an action film. There was, no hierarchy in how he could be fed by film, and we should come back to this.
He's like a sort of a champion for the non-intellectuals, for the people who just want to just make things up and delight people and not get too bogged down in just the endless analysis. He managed to do the analysis as a journalist, but he still did that, and it did that in a kind of in a joyful, kind of like childlike, enthusiastic way.
And when he made in 1962 this so important interview with Hitchcock in Universal Studio in Los Angeles,
I found myself editing the radio program Hitchcock Truffaut, and Truffaut was a wonderful interviewer, and he had a way of sharing his love for Hitchcock and how film is made that was fascinating.
What he projects from his characters onto the world is this idea that everybody is so individual and is so unique, and how communication is so hard, but he believes in communication.
There was also this kind of fatherhood, older brother and younger brother relation between Truffaut and Leo.
discovering him in a way made his career.
You couldn't say that Truffaut was heavily apparent in the other Antoine Doinel films as he was in 400 Blows. Leo took over the part rather, and you know, he became a huge star of the French cinema without ever being a sexy star. He was someone who was shy, rather charming, rather hesitant, unable to cope with life and certainly unable to cope with women. And you couldn't really say that of Truffaut.
The films I was brought up with were male-oriented, you know, they were macho-oriented, and the female characters were not that important. And then when I looked and read Truffaut's critics, I realized the importance of the female characters in the Howard Hawks films and the Hitchcock films. So I looked at women in films differently. And then when I looked at his movies, I saw how he even went further than Hitchcock or Hawks, and giving the actresses and the female characters a very genuine importance.
Bonjour Antoine.
Bonjour madame.
Faut que je donne les livres comptables à Antoine.
Vous avez déjeuné?
Enfin oui, déjà, on va...
Ah oui, avec Actif?
Oui, c'est ça, avec Actif.
Non, il m'en manque un. Voici où. Je vous le donnerai tout à l'heure.
Merci beaucoup.
Truffaut wanted to be in cinema, to make films, to have a relation with actress. He was passionate by the actress. he was in love with all his actresses because he wanted to be, just to live, making films, only this. He doesn't like the real life because it's not interesting. He was not a tourist. He was not, he doesn't want to have a good lunch or a good dinner. He preferred to go to cinema or to theater to discover young actors or actresses. All his life was totally obsessed by the idea of making movies and to be independent.
François Truffaut retrouve Gérard Depardieu pour La femme d'à côté, avec pour la première fois au cinéma Fanny Ardant.
You can do very simple setups in very simple situations, and he managed from these situation setups to create an atmosphere and a sense of also dread almost and suspense with very little details.
Alors qu'est-ce qu'elle vient faire ici, cette femme-là?
J'ai pas fait exprès de venir habiter en face de chez toi.
Mais écoute, tu aurais pu me prévenir.
Je ne veux plus te voir. Tu me fais peur.
Each film speaks about the death, the love, but the failure of the love.
Ni avec toi, ni sans toi.
Est-ce que tu m'aimes? Est-ce que tu me protégeras toujours?
I really like Soft Skin. I like Soft Skin because it's a very sad and dark little story.
Oh. Je suis désolée, excusez-moi. Merci, monsieur. Pardon.
It's a gripping film. I mean, you really want to know how it's going to end. But at the same time, it's a very honest and true film to how love can be terrible. You know, how love affair can happen to be a terrible business.
Allez, va danser, toi. Je t'assure, ça m'ennuie pas du tout.
Mais qu'est-ce que tu vas faire?
Comment est-ce que je vais faire? Mais je vais te regarder. Ça sera mon plaisir.
It's a very dark little tale of about a middle-aged man who cheats on his wife, and it could be really lame and uninteresting. And what he makes of that is a sort of small-scale tragedy. But this man decides to abandon, you know, in order to get this woman in his life, you know, becomes a disaster. So it's and it's wonderfully made because it's really made into like, it's like looking at 3 films in one.
Each film must be like the print of your soul, your heart.